All right, let's talk about one of the most fascinating and, of course, tragic final moments in all of history. And it wasn't captured in a photo, but on a menu.
It's a question that's way more than just simple curiosity. The answer, believe it or not, gives us a peek into a world that was literally about to vanish forever.
Now, if you're imagining people rushing through some simple meal, you couldn't be more wrong. I mean, look at this. This looks like a feast for a king, but it was just dinner on a ship, mere hours before it went down.
Yeah, you heard that right. 11 courses. This wasn't about just getting some food in. This was a full-blown performance of wealth, of power, and just this absolute confidence of the time.
So come on, let's step back in time to that fateful night and really see what this incredible meal was all about.
First off, you gotta picture the scene. The first-class dining saloon. This room was enormous. It was actually the biggest room on any ship in the world at that point. And every single detail, right down to the little logo on the china, was meant to scream luxury, to make the millionaires and aristocrats on board feel completely at home.
And this right here, this is basically our tour guide for the evening. This very menu, dated April 14, 1912, is our ticket back in time. It promised a journey through the absolute best of French cooking.
So what does an 11-course meal on the most luxurious ship in the world actually look like? All right, let's get into it. They started things off, well, light by their standards anyway. We're talking fresh oysters, little canapés, followed by a choice of soups. This was really just the opening act, to get everyone's appetite going for what was still to come.
Next up was the fish course. Just imagine waiters in these perfect white gloves gliding silently through the room, serving this beautiful poached salmon with a creamy sauce. The service itself was as much a part of the show as the food was.
By courses 4 and 5, we're getting to the main events. I'm talking filet mignons, lamb with mint sauce, sautéed chicken, and this wasn't a choice of one or the other, it was a parade of some of the richest food you can possibly imagine.
And that's really the whole point, isn't it? This meal, it was a mirror of the ship itself. It was a projection of total power, of untouchable wealth, and this core belief that they were all on an unsinkable ship, completely safe from anything the real world could throw at them.
And just when you think, okay, that has to be it. Nope, the feast just keeps on coming. Course 9 was roasted squab, that's a young pigeon, served over watercress. And that was followed by cold asparagus with a vinaigrette, just to sort of cleanse the palate before dessert.
But here's what's so wild. This incredible display of luxury, it was only half the story happening on that ship that night. The difference between the decks was just staggering. While the first-class passengers were having this elaborate feast, dinner down in third-class steerage was a loud, lively, communal thing. The food was simple, a hearty stew, some biscuits. It was good food, but it was a completely different universe from the quiet elegance happening just a few floors up.
So as the evening went on, in both of those dining rooms, nobody had any idea that an uninvited guest was about to seal their fate.
Back up in first class, the wine is flowing, the band is playing popular happy songs. The whole vibe in that room was one of total safety, a total celebration.
But just on the other side of that wall, separated by just a few inches of steel, was this. A massive, silent killer floating in the dark. The water temperature out there was below freezing. The contrast is just chilling.
And then, at 11:40 p.m., those two worlds collided in the most violent way possible.
The dessert was just being served, things like peaches and chartreuse jelly and Waldorf pudding. And then, it happened. A shudder. Just a little vibration at first. Then, a horrible, grinding noise that just ripped through the entire ship. The dinner party was over. Instantly.
And in all the chaos that followed, a few of these fragile pieces of paper became accidental time capsules.
You might be wondering, how do we even know all these details? Well, it's because a handful of people, in that mad dash to escape, had actually stuffed the menu into their coat pockets as a souvenir. Can you imagine that? Sitting in a lifeboat, holding on to this damp piece of paper, the last link to the last normal moment of your life. And today, those little scraps of paper are almost priceless. When one of them comes up for auction, it can sell for over $100,000. It just shows how fascinated we still are with the Titanic's final hours.
And that leaves us with this incredibly haunting image. The grand dining room then, full of life, compared to how it looks today, lying at the bottom of the ocean. It's just staggering.
For so many of those people, the taste of sweet pudding was the very last thing they ever knew. Death showed up before the after-dinner drinks could even be poured.
So you see, this menu, it's so much more than just a list of food, isn't it? It's a snapshot of an entire culture, a class system, and a moment of incredible self-assurance right before a catastrophic fall. It really makes you think. What does it tell us about that thin, fragile line between our greatest luxuries and our worst tragedies?